Hello and welcome to So Farscape.
A fun-filled Farscape fancast by a fervent fan.
And a fascinated first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay. And this is the story So Farscape.
Nearscape, Farscape, wherever you are, scape.
Okay, where did that come from?
Oh, you didn't feel that? We're watching The Locket, and it's such a sort of romantic and tragic story.
It is a bit, yes.
It's the Titanic it's Space Titanic.
Well, yes. Well, there's no icebergs and there's no real ships sinking.
Details.
Yes. There is a Locket, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll just ask Leonardo DiCaprio.
Getting ahead of ourselves because we have just finished watching Season 2, Episode 16, The Locket, and it got me right in the feels, Kay. It gets me every time.
Oh, you're right, Kaki.
Thank you for joining me in my emotional level.
Do you need a little moment there? I've got a little handkerchief here for you to.
Oh, thank you. Is it one of those like lovely sort of cloth wrappings like all the people on these favorite planets seem to be wearing?
Oh well, it all had a very homespun look and feel to it. I thought.
Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this episode. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Still the emotions.
Sorry, yes, okay. So, we have a few listener synopses about this episode. Gary B. says, time stands still, the Tin Man returns, and a well-aged American tries on an accent.
Thank you, Gary B. And from the ever-reliable Test Monkey 6K, time clouds form thoughts of unspoken love and regret. Well, that's poetic, isn't it?
Prepare for starburst!
How are we... Okay, so we just... Like, last week we had Won't Get Fooled Again, which...
Yeah, was more mental torture for John. I guess we're not quite done with torturing John yet, I suppose.
Right? It's getting farther and farther away from being fun-filled, but in a very different way this time. Like, we have a lot of a journey to uncover as we plunge into the uncharted territories. Once again, 216, The Locket. Kay, it's another one that I've been looking forward to because I remember... just weeping and bawling at this episode when it first came out because there's a lot going on.
Oh, very much so.
We start off...
Yes, Moya moon landing. At least that's kind of like the freeze frame at the beginning. It looked almost like they were like staring out the window out of a moon lander at a moonscape there.
Wow.
I've been watching a lot of For All Mankind recently, so that's a little bit where my space mind frame is going right now. So
everything's moons.
That's no moon.
Well, yes, it looked like that to me at first. But no, we have a somewhat mopey John who is like watching the outside where there's some sort of nebula.
It's like space candy floss.
Yes.
Right? It's got all of these strands and tendrils. It was really well done. It's
kind of like one of those, nebulous clouds which have gone slightly less nebulous and more cloudy.
Yeah.
Because apparently they are all waiting for Aeryn to return, who has taken one of the modules out on a flight to explore this weird nebula, which they've been hiding in for the peacekeepers, I suppose.
Yes, for a few days. There's some cunning exposition throughout this to establish the timeline and also explain why the Prowler isn't being used. Like,
yes.
Yeah, you caught that.
Yeah,
very efficient. Like,
I love that. Like little things like that to avoid plot holes and other things. I really admire when a movie or a series does that well. Like avoiding little shower thoughts like that by just like putting a single line of dialogue and suddenly it's completely subverted and you don't have to worry about or think about it.
It's so great. Unlike Stark just suddenly being there again.
Yes.
Oh, hello.
Where did he come from?
No, I've been here for 2 days. Oh.
I finally returned the transport pod you lent me after we escaped from the Gammak base.
So apparently Zan meditates multiple days at a time, and
occasionally,
that's just normal and
although
okay.
She now gets like apparently brought out of her reverie with the goddess early. Look, she was done meditating. I guess the kitchen timer ran out or something.
There's even Rigel in the hallway, like, oh.
What are you doing out here, Zan?
And repeating the exposition. Weren't you just meditating?
Yeah.
Did you notice that Rigel was nice?
You're worse than me. I like that.
Throughout this whole episode? Like, he was just...
Although I'd also noticed that
nice.
Rigel cannot sound sincere.
You always expect the worst of me.
Okay, yeah, this is a... I wonder if this is our difficulty. Look, we can't accept sincerity from a face like that, knowing what's come out of it.
Come on, when Shanna and Rigel are snooping through Aeryn's pod after she returns, like, and Rigel is trying to convince Dargo, or I don't think he was trying to convince him, he's just going through the motions.
What are you doing in here?
Nothing. We're looking for clues.
He cannot sound sincere. You can hear him that he's just like bullshitting.
Yep.
He's just
Because Aeryn is missing. That's why John has been moping up on the command.
yeah.
She's
Been gone for a day. Or
watching
cycle,
out for any kind of signal. Like Dargo even comes and brings him a drink.
Thanks.
That's how long he's been there. I really liked all those little relationship moments.
Yes.
Just Dargo and John and Dargo and Chiana. And they finally catch a bit of a signal. And it's Aeryn who says,
Dargo, I'll come on board now, if that's all right.
They say, sure. And through the haze of this nebula, the familiar Moya transport pod arrives. But when it arrives,
What did Aeryn do to it?
it's in a bad way.
It's in a bit of a state, yeah. It's like pitted and old. Because I noticed some interesting camera work here. So the ladder of the pod folds open.
Yes.
And then you can see what I guess is either door or more ladder.
Red ladder, yellow ladder.
Yes. And then they do this clever little thing where you have the shot through the ladder of John running
through the
up.
slat.
So they can avoid having to actually show someone walking up to the pod, which is probably just a matte painting.
Yeah. Very good.
And they reuse that same trick once they're on the planet again later.
It's a very efficient, set piece. Just
Yep.
put that down, film from the other side, and you've got it conveyed.
Shoot the camera past it, and you can have people running up and down, clearly conveying that they're going into the pod. And then you just cut to the internal shot of the pod where people are coming in through the doorway.
It's a really high ladder, by the
It
way.
is, yes, I noticed that too.
It doesn't rate very high on accessibility.
No.
What if there's a person in a wheelchair or like an elderly person who has trouble getting downstairs? Imagine that.
Maybe they have one of those little stair lifts, those chairs that you can sit on and you get zoomed up the...
yes. My grandmother-in-law loved that one.
Oh, I can imagine. I always remember that scene from Gremlins where they boost the motor for that and little granny gets launched out the window.
Oh gosh, yes.
But yeah, inside the pod is completely overgrown with a kind of plant that Zahn recognizes as the plant that she gave Aeryn for her headaches.
This is Zekam leaf.
Yeah, but it was tiny.
And now it's overgrown the entire pod. And what we see just before the intro break is a very old Aeryn.
Old Aeryn in fantastic makeup.
Oh, yes.
Right?
The old people makeup was done very well in this episode.
So this is obviously Dave Elsey as well. He talked about how they split the sculpting duties between himself and another person whose name escapes me. He did the sculpt for John. Elsey was a little bit more critical about the John one. It was an interesting thing. Apparently, Claudia Black was adamant that the sort of old person makeup for her should not look like anyone in her family. Which is something that I believe is often done. When you need to do old people makeup, you look like older relatives of an actor to see where they go. In the same way that you look at younger relatives to cast younger versions of them. But she was very insistent on that. And it was an interesting challenge for her and also for Ben when they didn't have a lot of time to really get to meet their older selves and craft a performance around it. Because by the time the makeup was finished, they had a brief glimpse in the mirror and then off go.
Off go shooting. So I was wondering if they actually, for John's makeup, if they actually tried to make him look more like the actor who plays his father. Because I got that impression from the way John looked.
Interesting.
I mean, it seems to make sense, if you're going to make him older, make him look like the guy who is his father.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one. I think Ben Browder mentioned that he wound up looking like an uncle of his, which he really enjoyed, and both of them had such they had a lot of fun with this performance. Crichton went way more crotchety and more southern.
Yes, I noticed that in his accent as well. Yes.
Don't you old man me, woman. You're 200 cycles older than I am.
Aeryn, who warns them, you have to go.
Yeah, leave.
John, you have to get out of here. You have to get out now.
And this is where we now spend the next, what felt like hour and a half.
Listen, please.
With the crew explaining to her that she's safe.
Listen.
And trying to figure out why she rapid aged and why she has these deranged illusions of memories. And her trying to convince.
Listen, gasshole.
How did this read to you?
Oh,
what was your hypothesis here? Did you think that Aeryn had been mind-frelled with, or that she was telling the truth?
Okay, I'm a little bit jaded by time travel in sci-fi episodes. So at this point, I'm just sitting there waiting to see what happens. Because you can sit and speculate, but my hindbrain is sitting there going, I wonder which way they're going to go with this, rather than hypothesizing what it is that is going on.
See, that's really interesting, because I know exactly what you mean. We've seen, like, Star Trek The Next Generation, The Inner Light.
I have that as one of my notes. There are very strong parallels between that episode and this one.
We're going to use the Star Trek system.
And you kind of know that there is some kind of fake out and reset coming.
Of course.
It's a cliche, but every cliche started out as a good idea and can still be executed brilliantly. So how are they going to achieve the fake out this time? Because she's not going to stay an old person on Moya.
No, we're going to have to figure out what is going on. So I'm just waiting for that at that point. I'm not putting any mental cycles towards trying to figure out and trying to outguess the show creators. I'm just like sitting back and experiencing it the way what they want me to see and what they want me to feel.
I wonder if they expected like less genre obsessed viewers to be really surprised and get into it, because there is an audience for whom this is their first time shenanigans story.
Yes. Oh, interesting thought, yeah. But yeah, Aeryn is very distressed.
Maybe your mind created the memories to compensate for your body getting old.
Stark takes off his mask and uses his mind powers to calm her down a little bit. Zhaan once again does the fastest DNA test ever, because she immediately confirms that yes, this is in fact Aeryn, and yes, she has in fact actually aged 165 cycles.
So she mentions 3 data points, which I thought was so cool. Like DNA, yes. Blood composition, yes. Also, scars.
Same DNA, same blood composition, same scars.
Oh, yes, the fact that she had the same scars that she...
Yeah.
Ah, yes. I guess it's one of those things that people tend to forget about faking out when they're trying to put a clone or a double or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
A clone wouldn't have your scars unless someone went through the trouble of putting them on there.
The blood composition seems weird, though, because she would have been living on a different planet, so she would have a different, gaseous mix in her blood.
Yeah, different C16 or C14 count.
Oh, that too.
And I noticed that in Westworld, when they are rebuilding and resetting the hosts, they've got all these growth things. But then there's like the characters, I'm not sure, the bandito who keeps wandering into town trying to steal the safe. But he has a scar on his face, so each time they have to put the scar back as well.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
This is where Chiana and Rigel start snooping around the pod. Chiana, because she's like, maybe she brought back something interesting that we can find.
Are you going to steal it?
Of course not.
And Rigel goes, oh, you're worse than I am.
I love it.
I really like their relationship.
Yeah, like a Rumpel-Teaser and the other one, like two partners in crime from
Mungo
Cats.
Jerry.
Mungo Jerry and Rumpel-Teaser, that's the one.
It's really interesting to see how much they're still themselves. Rigel never changes for long, or never changes completely.
He's the oldest of the bunch. He's been like that for a long, long time.
And Chiana has evolved a whole lot.
I'm evolving as an individual.
But she hasn't left this behind. Like, she's still, she's still a thieving...
She literally says that at some point during this episode. It's what I do.
I always do what I want, okay?
Yep.
That's me. And has actually had a little bit of a showdown with Dargo, who shows up and tells them to stop frilling about inside the pod, and that she should go and tend to Aeryn.
Which she protests, like, why do I always have to do this? When John tried to tell Chiana during, Beware of Dog, to go take care of Dargo, who was dying, and now Dargo is telling her to take care of Aeryn, who's old and perhaps dying.
I don't know, is this a bit of a sexist thing, or it's like...
You know, there was a short line that sort of sounds like... She said something about being the girl.
Why do you always get the girl?
Just do it!
That it's the girl job.
That's what I mean. It's like, is this a bit of a sexist thing that's shining through in...
I think that's how it appears to Chiana, but it creates this really interesting conflict with Dargo, which gets examined later on when Dargo apologizes for embarrassing her in front of Rigel.
Yeah.
And she starts off immediately being very forgiving. Hey,
you could never embarrass me.
Like, she's ready to move on, as she's done before.
She very much lives in the moment.
But Dargo isn't ready to move on. He wants to tell her, you don't have to do this stuff anymore. You don't have to be like, you're one of us now.
Yes.
There's no need for you to act like you're not.
And she takes umbrage at that.
I'm only one of you if I decide to be, I guess.
And I am still me. I don't do...
that hasn't changed me,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wasn't acting out. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't just waiting to feel safe and then I could just be someone else. This is me. It's still me. I'm still going to do this.
I don't know why. It's just the way I am.
I understand that, but...
Yeah, but you're not going to change me.
Yeah.
And he says that he's starting to realize
that.
Because I guess... I mean, in the throes of an early relationship, or not just an early relationship, sometimes there's the imagination that these things that you dislike about another person will stop mattering. they'll fade with love, or you can change them, essentially.
Actually, that brings me back to a note that I have for later on in the episode, where Chiana says, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are they talking about? Is she talking about her relationship with Dargo? Or is she talking about the entire situation that Moya and the rest of the crew are in as well?
We're not going to make it. Are we?
I think it's very much like her and Dargo, like realizing that they may not fit well together.
Yeah.
That who she is isn't actually someone that he can deal with, and that she can't deal with him either. Yeah.
Fast with the body, slow with the soul, I believe she said in a previous episode when giving John advice towards Aeryn.
Very good. But they're starting to maybe realize, I guess, that maybe what they want from each other is not the same as what they are.
Yeah. So she is, in fact, tending to Aeryn.
Yeah.
Aeryn wakes up and she goes like, I didn't mean to wake you up. Give me some water, please. And when she turns away, she gets stabbed with the hypo injector or whatever the thing's called.
Aeryn pulls the Crichton maneuver.
Yep.
And once again, just space roofies Chiana. What are these people doing? Why do you have these things just lying around?
I guess they might have used that earlier on her to calm her down a little bit. So it might have still just been kicking about.
Wow.
No. I'm sorry, Chiana. That's it. I'm sorry. It's just I don't have much time. And neither do you. Shh.
But yes, she goes and to see Pilot right away.
Yes.
And
she needs to leave, but she stops for Pilot.
Yeah, she wants to go say goodbye to Pilot. And she literally says to him, goodbye. And Pilot's like, oh, I don't understand.
What happened to you?
I lived, Pilot.
But also I noticed that Pilot doesn't ask for an explanation.
No. He accepts what he sees. She touches his hand. She calls him friend.
Glad I got a chance to see you one last time, my friend.
What do you mean? I'll see you again?
No, you won't.
And she just really, really wanted to see him before leaving, because she came here specifically as a gesture of love for her old shipmates.
Yeah, to say goodbye.
To say goodbye and to warn them to leave. To tell them what she learned in her 80 cycles.
165, I believe.
Oh, yeah, it has been 165.
Yeah. I have lived for 165 cycles. I have had 3 sons and watched them die. And I have a granddaughter.
Because the effect recurs every 55 cycles, I believe they say. And so she's been through 3 of them.
Every time going back to the acid planet, which, okay, we'll get there. And then she leaves again.
Yep, takes a transport pod and sods off through the rift in the mist.
And John and Dargo ask Pilot, like, why didn't you stop her? Why didn't you tell us? Oh, she asked me not to tell you, and you are all free to go or stay as you want. Like,
as you please, yes. I'm not the nanny. It's like, I'm just the pilot.
You're all free to come and go.
That is so real. I guess maybe that's also why Chiana was able to smash Aeryn's prowler.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was established that the Locket...
Yes, it was an apology and...
it was an apology gift.
The Locket that Chiana gave you, the one that says, sorry, I smashed your prowler. The one she stole from the last commerce planet we were on.
She stole it? She told me she bought it.
Well, that's cheap.
Oh, there's a fantastic German word for a gift that you buy for someone to placate an expected tantrum because they're mad at you, and it's called Drachenfutter.
Dragon feet.
Yes, exactly.
I also love the word that they have, like, for when you try to make something better and it gets something worse, and it calls it Verschlimmbesserung.
Worse bettering.
Yes.
But worse and better. Oh, gosh. Through the haze, there's a portal through which they can now see a planet.
Yes, that showed up when she came back initially, and they caught her radio signal.
And Crichton decides to go after her.
It takes the other prowler, sorry, not the prowler, the...
transport pod.
Transport pod, thank you. And yes, here we have the shot again of him descending the stairs this time.
It's really cool with his long coat flapping in the wind. It's sort of a windy Mad Max environment. It's called an acidic planet.
I was going to say, it's another typical stone quarry shot somewhere. They've poured some gasoline out there to set the thing on fire.
Gosh, yeah.
Because you can see fire lines burning here and there. And we have this old Aeryn who is trying to... Well, actually, she's got a gun pulled on him, doesn't she, at that point?
Yes. I don't know exactly why she has this.
There might be a dangerous planet. There might be acid creatures there.
Oh, that's true.
There's a bit of a struggle for that gun. Then, as soon as John has her on the ground, someone else takes a shot at him, and it turns out to be her granddaughter.
You touch my grandmother again, and I will kill you.
Yeah, a young dark-haired woman called Enix.
And they seem to both be about equally surprised. John at the fact that she actually has a granddaughter, and the granddaughter that this John Crichton actually exists.
You're Crichton?
The person that her grandmother has been rambling about for as long as she can remember, because she's 24 cycles old at this point.
Huh. She wasn't making it all up.
Yep. Quite handy with the pulse rifle. I don't know why they...
Where did that come from?
Exactly.
Yeah. Was there a spare one on board the transport pod?
It's Aeryn. When she goes out, she sort of drags the weapons locker with her, I'm pretty sure.
Fair point.
It's good. Like, it's still in decent condition after 165 cycles. Like, they're well-made weapons.
I guess they have been very sparing with the ammo, that they still can shoot it like 150 cycles later.
Oh, very good. Yeah, where are you going to get spare Chakan oil?
Yes. Aeryn manages to convince John to leave and come back in another 8 hours.
Yes, that's how often the portal sort of reopens.
How she knows that, I'm not entirely sure, because she only knows that it opens every 55 cycles for her.
I've been thinking about this. I think that she's been studying this this place, and there's another planetary system nearby that you can reach with this transport pod. They call it their favored world.
Yes.
So presumably she's been planet hopping on the transport pod and has studied this rhythm, observing changes in a thick mist. God, I'm sort of piecing together from the technobabble, of which there is a great deal. I had forgotten.
I was going to say there's almost none. I mean, as compared to Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
There's no inverting the polarity on the neutron flow or anything like that. You know?
Okay, well, here's something interesting. I call this technobabble, even though it's in the idiom of Farscape, where it's much more like the concepts are much more alien.
It's not techno. It's not, plot babble.
Their technology is based on different principles and scientific understanding than ours, that is expressed through wholly different words that we don't recognize.
Fair enough.
You know, we have an idea of a graviton could exist in physics as we know it, and in Star Trek that's a real thing. And over here it's a center halo, and it has a time, like, whatever.
Okay, when they say center halo, I just hear time warp thingy.
A temporospatial anomaly.
That's the one, yeah. Exactly.
Right, you could take this episode and write it for Star Trek Voyager, and you'd swap a few words around, but I don't think you could do that, because Voyager is not a series that is based on like emotion and relationships as much as Farscape is. So I remembered that aspect of this episode so much, how heart-wrenching it is, and how incredible it is to take an episode to really examine a relationship like this, and how rare that would be in Star Trek.
True. The relationship between John and Aeryn is a central theme to Farscape, at least at this point. There's a lot of will they, won't they, and they have a few times, but it still always comes back to not anyway, and that's, as we examined last time, mostly on Aeryn.
Yes.
I'd say most of that is on Aeryn's unwillingness or unableness to make a commitment.
I've been thinking about that a lot since the Look at the Princess trilogy.
Yeah.
Because we talked about how Aeryn is the one who isn't committing and isn't being honest. And I think our friend Lee, the new musician, she mentioned that Aeryn is not being honest, John is being honest. John is saying how he feels.
Yes.
It's you I find pleasing.
Yeah.
He's being very clear and very direct, and Aeryn wants something from him that she's not even asking for because she's afraid to admit it. But there's more to it than that, because she grew up with relationships being verboten.
Yeah.
You know?
Fleeting, having sex is fine, but you're going to get transferred soon enough, so that's all it is. It's like entertainment.
Exactly. And that's what she expects from other people. Now, she's had a different experience with Velarek, who was in love with her, and she was in love with him. But she betrayed him. Right,
yep.
She chose to do that eventually, and
do the career path thing instead.
Yeah, and so does she feel that maybe she doesn't deserve it?
In this episode, she has now spent 155 cycles on the planet. She's had a husband, she's had 3 sons, and she has a granddaughter.
Yeah.
So she's, I guess, had a lot of different experience in her life in that regard.
It's so fascinating to discover, which John will, because he tries to return to Moya, but the aperture is closing.
Yes, John is convinced to go back, but he misses his window of opportunity.
It closes up on him. It's a gorgeous effect.
He was trying to go through the hole, but he missed.
Oh, okay, I don't like that.
The aperture closes before he can fly the pod through, and he ends up on the planet.
Yeah, he tried to dock with Moya, but the aperture closed and he was dock blocked.
Oh, come on, he missed because they're in the weird mist thing in the space.
Oh, missed?
He missed.
Oh, very good. Okay, no, I'm coming around to enjoying your punt. See, you really need to lasso me around the hump like a dromedary and lead me to the oasis of your comedy. Ooh, we have an interesting shot coming up because as John returns, Stark goes and visits Zan, who's meditating in the nude.
Again, communing with the spirit, the goddess, sorry.
Now, this is a recycled shot from the pilot episode.
Oh.
Seeing her from behind. That wasn't Virginia Hay. Not out of prudeness, but simply out of timing. She didn't have the time to be...
spent 4 hours in makeup just for that one shot. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was another woman who did the shot from behind. But so you can see that the lighting and even her color is quite different from behind than from the front. Like, she has a different shade of blue.
Any of that could be attributed to lighting, so I guess it doesn't break any continuity, but I see what you mean, yes.
I'm a photographer, I like that sort of thing, because Stark has a theory. I've got a theory.
Yes, he comes up with the weird timey-wimey thing.
Scattered throughout the universe were mists where all dimensions met and where time ceased to exist.
Did you catch who he attributed that theory to?
No. I know that he mentioned a name, but it didn't really... You know how I am with names.
An ancient.
An ancient named Gallic theorized about what he called center halos.
Oh.
Is what he called them. An ancient, which is the species that John encountered who gave him the wormhole knowledge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right?
Sorry, when I hear ancients, I immediately go to Stargate. But yes, he suggests a mind meld with Zan, or whatever they call it, adjoining, I believe it is the correct phrase.
Uses a few different terms, and he's the one who initiates it. So evidently this is something that not only Delvians can do.
No.
And it doesn't look at all like the Unity that we're used to.
No, but he knows that Delvians have some sort of time sense when they're in Unity.
Yeah.
Although it is apparently quite difficult to achieve, and Zan is unsure if she'll be able to do that.
That is what we strive for, but few have achieved it.
But that's literally what happens. They go into their Unity thing and basically freeze time for everybody, or at least physical time. Because everybody becomes aware of everything freezing up for a moment, that they can't move, yet they retain full consciousness.
It's really peculiar. It's beautifully visualized with the room spinning around them. They're pressing their heads together. It seems to be painful for Zan, but perhaps almost pleasant for Stark.
Yes, you can see him with an elated expression on his face.
I guess it's like two people sitting next to each other on a roller coaster can have very different expressions when it does a loop-de-loop.
Very much so. And cut to the planet, the good planet, I suppose. Which is
favoured world.
Which is very close to the other one, because you can see it hovering in the sky above. Very large. So those planets are... Normally, if I'd say a planet that big, you'd think they'd be in each other's... I want to say Schwarzwald range, but that's not what it's called.
Schwarzschild.
Is that the one? Schwarzschild range?
That's a radiation thing, isn't it?
No, basically it's a distance at which two bodies can orbit each other before one of them gets torn up by the gravitational effects.
I've been in relationships like that.
Oof.
It's a lovely world. It's a gorgeous meadow. It looks like sakura trees.
Lots of purple painted flowers. Because Aeryn and her granddaughter are planting these little things, which to me look like juniper bushes, which have been spray painted purple.
That's what they're doing. Well, this must be like, where was it? With Bekesh and the tabloids.
Lex.
Thrown for a Loss, episode 3 or 4 of season 1, where they're walking through the planet where all the leaves are blue.
Yes.
And that was just done by a color process in post, take all the green and turn it blue. So here, they must have been there must be like sakura trees. There must be like cherry blossom trees where the pink can be turned up to purple.
Aeryn and her granddaughter are planting these little things and talking about John, who is standing off a little bit a ways. And it's like, it's only been a few cycles. Give him some more time to adjust. So at this point, you're already like, yep, these are stuck here, and it's already been years. It's like, whoa.
These have grown.
And I thought this was a really great effect where they cut between that and then suddenly an old John. Because in the first shot, it's like still the John that we know.
Yeah,
but
we
the next
see him from
shot,
behind in the distance, but like the hair is still dark.
And he's still wearing his leathers.
Oh, is he? I think he's already wearing like a white shirt and sort of brownish pants.
Oh, it might be, yeah. But he's still very clearly recognizable as the John that we know. But on the next shot, we have an old John, which was much more like MacGyver from Stargate.
Oh gosh, yes. Now I know what you're talking about. O'Neill.
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
I'll go no more roving with you, fair maid.
And he's singing one of my favourite songs, the Maid of Amsterdam.
Oh.
I'll go no more a-roving with you, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving.
I wonder how they ended up at that tune. Because
copyright free.
Oh, I suppose.
It might, again, be a Ben Browder original. You know, he was the one who started humming Dream a Little Dream, and then that became the title of the episode. This may just be a song that he likes.
And he's talking to Scorpius.
Yeah. You can rack off. I'm going to do what I want to do.
No, Crichton, no.
Yeah,
Who's
because
still there
Scorpius
with
is
him.
still in his head. Yep.
And just bantering like a retired person bitching at their jeu de boule partner, the same argument that they've had for the last 20 years. No, you're not getting the goddamn wormhole knowledge.
I
Stop
noticed,
asking.
like, his accent turned a lot more Colonel Saunders.
You're blending Jennifer Saunders and Colonel Sanders.
That's
now.
the one, yes. Oh, I would like to see Jennifer Saunders as Colonel Sanders.
No.
Now.
Oh, wait. No, I'm back. Yeah,
I'm
back.
That will be hilarious. But...
And...
yeah, he's like, you're not getting that information in my head. And Scorpius is like, I wouldn't be so sure about that.
I'm dying. I'm dying right here on this planet. You ain't never gonna get what's in my head.
Enix asks him if he's still talking to his old buddy. Yeah, no. Oh, he's gone now.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Back on Moya.
Stark has developed a theory.
There's some Farscape technobabble for which we probably need a new name because they run through the various observations. Like everybody noticed that time stood still. Oh, that was you guys. Time isn't passing for them because they're in a space of... I think the way that I understand it is the center halo is like a cyst or like a pearl where some kind of time paradox is being like contained and that mist sort of hardens around it and then traps this timeless void inside it.
Ah, yachts. Have you been drinking fallop juice?
Yes, which makes you wonder what is causing it, but...
just spacey, wacy, timey-wimey, yeah.
And they're realizing that Moya is slowly getting trapped because the mist is thickening and it's making things harder to move.
Now, here's where I noticed the most important thing in this episode. There's a huge change. Mm-hmm. We've talked about a lot of these relationships and all these character developments, and that's all really cool. This is a change so monumental that I haven't even mentioned that Zan got a new outfit, which is normally the highlight.
Yes.
Right? She's got new accessories.
She's wearing this outfit which looks like it's made out of those little magnetic beads that cling together.
Yeah, she's got like a chainmail shawl. But even that didn't catch my attention. Look at the lamps.
Oh.
They got new lamps. I got so emotional about the lamps. They've got new lamps, baby.
Are you talking about the big floodlight type things that they seem to be using in the medical
The
bay?
lanterns, no, those are cool. I'm looking at the desk lamps.
Oh.
What used to be the IKEA lamps, where you have the sort of little prongs sticking out so you can move the light without burning your hands on the halogen heated. Now it's this sort of... I mean, it's still an angled lamp, but it's more red, and the sort of cowl of the lamp thins into a point where you can grab it, and they're everywhere.
I guess they must have hit them up on the Commerce Planet and decided to redecorate.
I love that. Now I want fan fiction just about these lamps because we've noticed them before, like in the maintenance bay and on the command.
There has to be some sort of thing where they managed to get a big deal on cheap new lamps, but they had to take them off their hands just as long as they... Yes, we'll sell you the food, but you also have to buy like 2 score of those lamps.
But watch out, there might be parasites inside them.
Oh.
But we can sell you a horse to go after the fly, to go after the...
Yes, and the gorillas will die in the winter anyway.
So they know that they're in trouble...
So it's us. It's us who are not growing old.
Yes. I don't believe it.
You gotta be frilling with me.
But they don't exactly know what to necessarily do about it immediately, except to wait, because this aperture will reopen, so they have another opportunity to hopefully find their friends again.
Wait a few more hours until they can get back in touch with John and Aeryn, hopefully. So back on the planet, they are now both old people. They have this lovely little talk where they're obviously very caring and attentive to each other.
How's your knee?
Oh, it's fine. Just chasing beautiful women up and down the hills.
Well, why don't you come and sit down here, old man, or you'll give yourself a heart attack.
Don't you old man me, woman. You're 200 cycles older than I am.
I'm glad that you pointed out that in the previous scene, Aeryn and Enoch were planting trees because that's what they talk about. It seems like just yesterday. Gosh,
and now they're in a forest of these same purple leaf trees, and it's been 40 cycles long later, I suppose.
And they have a little conversation, sort of an argument that they've probably had many, many times before. She gave up her old life years ago. Like she married, she had children, she settled here, but Crichton didn't. Crichton never gave up his dissatisfaction. He explains to her why.
'Cause I ain't a gardener. I never wanted to be one. That's all we do around here. Garden. Plant things. I was a pilot, Aeryn. Astronaut. I was what I wanted to be. I ain't gonna forget that, and I can't accept this.
Yes, I was thinking about that for a little bit, because he says he was out camping with his dad, and he looked up at the moon, and just apparently there was a moon landing at that point, and I'm just sitting there hang on, that doesn't work out for the timeline, until he mentions that he can't have been more than 4, and then I'm like, okay, now it kind of does work out, because even Ben Browder, he was 38 when this was being filmed, right?
So even if it was Apollo 11, then he would have been born in 65, then he would have been 35, 36 by 2000, 2001.
So it still, works about.
That's probably the one then.
It makes sense.
I mean, I'd guess him as a 35-year-old man.
I wouldn't give him that. He looks much younger than that to me. But
in your fan fiction. Okay, no, I get it. I love this conversation between them and how they treat one another and calling each other old. And she has a bit of a pain, which she's quite familiar with. Oh, it's just the old pain. And he offers to help her up. And
I can walk back on my own. Yeah, you'd be rolling down the hill on your own. Saying stuff like that.
Falls,
yes.
Which he picks up.
I got it.
Give it to me.
I got your locket.
And this is a really interesting scene. Because he asks her, as he's probably done many times, what's inside?
Yes.
And she, dead eyes him in the face. I've told you, you know who's in there.
Whose image you got in here anyway?
You know who's in there. The only love of my life.
Your husband, right? And
is that right? Does he actually call that? Because I thought that she says that it's her first husband.
He says it's your husband, and she always says it's the only love of my life.
Okay.
And she dares him to open it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. I don't want to see his ugly face again.
He wasn't ugly, you know.
Yeah, keep talking about him. You can walk down by yourself. Hell, you can roll down the hill.
Don't be jealous.
Which we later find out, it's John's face.
It is, yes. There's a fairly crude painting of John, but it's clearly recognizable.
She must have painted that. She wouldn't have had a photo of him on... Oh, wait. Unless she put a photo of him in the locket before she left down for the planet.
Maybe. It didn't look like a photo. It looked like a somewhat pointillistic painting to me. But I guess it must have been a photo, considering the last scene, because I was going to come to that later.
Gosh, these time travel episodes do take us on a journey, don't they?
Yeah.
So this scene, what was Aeryn... What did she want? She wanted him to open it.
I guess so.
Did she want...
Okay, so I must have misheard this, because I thought she said that it was a photo of her husband.
Oh.
But if you say that it was John who said that, so I must have misinterpreted that or misheard it when we were watching it.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Because I remember in my first watching, I wasn't really paying attention to it.
Yeah, but I mean that changes the dynamic tremendously. Whether or not she actually says that it's her husband and then the love of my life, and that's why I thought she was still not being honest with him. But at this point, it's John who says it's your husband. Then it completely changes the dynamic of that scene. But yeah, I love that scene. That was brilliant.
And then we cut to a lovely montage of them walking back to their cabin and.
Just being happy and friendly and clearly, loving to each other.
Yeah. God, it's bringing tears to my eyes just thinking about it and looking at these reefs because their chemistry is undeniable. It always has
beautiful.
been, and it's just so splendid to see these people just having a wee walk and sharing the same old jokes and just really delighting in each other's company.
Whereas back on Moya, people are stressed out because the communication should have happened again right now, and they're still not. They're trying to contact John.
There's a cool shot on Moya where we come up with sort of crane shot over one of the consoles to frame Stark and Zahn and
I love how
Dargo
is just standing there leaning on the console with one hand on his hip.
Yes, he's doing his Vogue lead again. His hello, ladies.
Yes. Something similar is going on the acid planet, which is still burning, by the way, because, damn, they must have poured a lot of gasoline out there to keep the fire going for 55 cycles. Isn't it? With John trying to contact Moya.
Oh, yes. He pops a biscuit tin that apparently he's kept sealed for 50 cycles.
Which has a communicator in it.
That's probably where they keep their chakan oil as well. Just keep it in a tin.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then pop it open when you need it.
Yes.
And he says,
Pilot, can you hear me?
God, I've waited 50 cycles to say that.
Yes. Fantastic. Aeryn says goodbye to her granddaughter.
I grew up a peacekeeper. We are born in space, and we must die in space.
But what about...
Now, I have spent most of my life down here with you, and it has been glorious. But when I die, I belong up there.
Which seems to be a bit of a different understanding that she's developed over the meantime, because the last time she was desperate to get back to the planet, rather than stay on more.
With her granddaughter, yeah. I think maybe a bit of Crichton has rubbed off in the meantime, like that he's rekindled that hope.
That makes sense, yeah.
And there may be another aspect, which is her granddaughter has been her carer for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And she may want her granddaughter to just let go.
Yes.
And give her an opportunity.
And live her own life, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
It's a very peacekeeper attitude, but as she says, like, I'm a peacekeeper, and when I die, it has to be out there.
Mm.
John finally gets through the interference, and he hears Dargo's voice, and he dances a little jig, which is just fantastic. He hoots and hollers.
Ho! Ah! Ho! 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 Dargo!
And has himself a fine little hootenanny, grabbing Aeryn to celebrate in his, like, a terrible pirate jig that he does. It's so arthritic and lovely.
Yeah, that's difficult to do. I mean, a pirate jig is not easy to dance anyway.
Oh, gosh, no, it's like a Cossack dance.
Yeah. So they manage to fly up, rejoin Moya through the portal, and as they arrive...
Oh, my God. How did you feel when the doors opened and it was a slow shot of the bay doors opening?
A very almost distressed-looking Zahn, and we have John holding Aeryn, and she died on the way up.
Yeah.
I think, at least she got to die in space was actually my thought.
Right.
Apparently, since she made such a point of it. But yeah, the way John plays this scene, or Ben, I should say.
She died. On the way. She's gone. Aeryn's gone.
Yeah, that was really emotional.
Yeah. Gosh, we may need to take a little moment to talk about it. So I know that there's people for whom this whole episode was perhaps too melodramatic, and I just can't help but, what are you missing out on? Because I get it, right? Some of this melodrama and maybe the makeup didn't land for you. It's like with Doctor Who. Maybe like the cheap effects don't really do it for you and you can't really suspend your disbelief and you can't get into it. But there is this contract with Doctor Who. Like, yeah, we know that it's just a fella covered in bubble wrap that we've painted green and we're calling it a slime monster. But if you buy into it, then here's a kick-ass story about a slime monster. You've just got to squint your eyes and get into it. And it's the same with this. Like, you've just got to... Like, you got to get into it, and then you get to feel this story where this man has lived another 40 years or 50 years on this planet, and this woman that he's loved, and, yeah, she died during the travel. And that's how it is.
I tried to get her back here before, so we could... She died.
John then turns into a bit of a curmudgeon. Is that the word?
Curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon, yes. Talking to everybody else. There's lots more technobabble.
Yes, and now it's for real technobabble because he's bringing the NASA science, and he says, if I had a lot of time to think about it, a lot of time, but not a lot of data. Right?
No,
you kind of need both for science.
He explored the planets on the other side from end to end, apparently during that time using the transport pod. But yeah, again, like not much in the way of scientific instruments that he has, but like he's put his scientific mind to it, and
yeah, and I guess probably the transport pod doesn't have like useful FTL to get to other planets. Like he found clearly, it's not purely relativistic. The Hetch seems to be like superluminal already. Yeah. It's not as fast as Starburst, but those transport pods, I don't think they can get to multiple different planets. Or...
Well, they can get to these planets, but it never becomes clear if they're on the same system or if it's like nearby systems or something like that. But yes, the space mist is coalescing and starting to trap Moya, and they're going to be trapped here unless they move through the portal to the planet.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about like, oh, but then we'll be trapped there. And I'm thinking like, hang on, you have Moya. Then you can jump drive or starburst out of there and go to other places.
Yeah, I agree that it wasn't very well established here because there's a few different things that they're dealing with. One of them, this idea of being trapped with just these few boring planets and nothing, which was John's problem because he only had a little puddle jumper.
Right. And not
full...
Moya, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And the alternative is stay in the mist and get locked in there and become part of this pearl, as you so nicely described it.
Yeah, kind of. Like it's sort of a time pearl.
Yeah.
But as you say, like if they do go through and go to the planet, then after that they can starburst anyway because there's a whole universe.
You'd think so.
Out there where Crace is 240 years older, and so is Scorpius, and so is everyone else.
Yeah, not 200, not that far, because it was only one cycle, so it would have been 220-ish. Yes.
No,
65, 165 plus 55. So, but anyway, details. Yeah, 220 years later, cycles later.
I love how you're applying sort of Star Trek nerdery to Farscape. No, I really appreciate it. We need more of that in the fandom.
I'm just keeping them to their keeping them consistent with what the things they've said.
But Dargo points out, I don't want to live without a past.
Yes,
he doesn't want to live in a world where he's missed the last 200 and odd
cycles.
Yeah. Because he will have missed out on finding his son, and everyone he knows will be dead. And it even affects Rigel, who just a few episodes ago was perfectly fine. Oh, I'll just chill for 80 cycles
yes,
and eat some good food, and then after that I'll get back to my adventure. I mean, maybe Rigel's just sitting here just rolling his eyes. Oh, kids, no patience.
Only 200 cycles, yeah. What are we talking about?
Yeah. Like Zan going, only 2.
Yeah.
Because
34 cycles, you're only a youngling then.
Yeah.
You are but a boy.
I am not.
And Crichton has a suggestion based on his lots of thinking and not much data.
Yeah. Why don't we just back out of it?
That Rigel's 16th glory me must travel in reverse once again. This seems to be like the great curse of Farscape, that Rigel has to move in reverse, even though that is the most undignified way for a Dominar to travel. And there's a vote.
And it's pretty much unanimous.
We have our consensus.
I mean, the only one who's against is Pilot, because he's not sure that Moya can stand up to doing a reverse starburst.
I liked that. I liked that Pilot said, no, we should go forward. Because Pilot doesn't have relationships outside of the ship. Like, the rest of the universe doesn't matter. The safety of Moya and the people aboard her
are primarily his concern. He gives in, though. There's another very emotional scene of John talking to a dead Aeryn, where he eventually ends up opening the locket and seeing his own face in there.
Damn. Maybe I miss you already. Who else am I going to tell this crap to?
And he tells her that he loves her.
I love you.
Something that apparently he couldn't say
in life. Yeah. Yeah, there is I mean, it's hard to tell if it's an actual photo or if it's just something that was painted in there, considering the fact that the photo seems to be fairly flat and the locket is very round. I guess it must actually be a photo, but that because...
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe the DRD did a little laminate printout.
Oh, that's right. We know that they can make Polaroids, so that makes absolute sense. Yeah.
And then it was cut out and stuck in there and like covered in like clear gel or something that hardened to like some kind of fixative.
Yes.
But God, this scene...
It gets rudely disturbed because Pilot initiates the first phase of reverse starburst, which immediately sends all the sparklers off on board the entire ship.
Yes, the Australian Guild of Teamsters throw confetti through their Bunsen burners and they create these gorgeous sparks, but all is not well because everybody starts to notice their time warping.
What's happening? Priming for starburst is making everything stop.
This is a difficult effect to achieve.
Gratuitous slow-mo.
I kind of think that they did it. Like, everybody's noticing that their voices are slower and faster, and Pilot says, I can't move my arms fast enough.
Yeah.
Apparently all their mouths can move.
Yes, you're going to... you can still talk with your mouth, but, that's probably not going to go down very well on audio.
Well, what I mean is, if your mouth muscles work, but your arm muscles don't, whatever.
Pilot says that he cannot initiate starburst and they have to do it manually from command. Dargo tries to reach for the console, but starts getting frozen up as well.
And then he side mouths, "Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it, Captain. I'm giving it all she's got."
Zahn and Stark decide that they need to do another join because apparently they can stave off the effect, but only for John. And I was like, why John? Why can't they do it on
This
Dargo?
is why we need that word, technobabble.
Yeah.
During that technobabble, Zahn says,
Crichton and I once shared unity, so I can help him.
So she has a mental link to him, so she can protect John from the timelessness that they're in. So when they do their next mental joining, she can somehow heal time just for him, and only as long as she holds it.
Right. Okay. So I missed that part, and I was wondering, why is John the special one that she can do it for? But it's because this shared unity.
Right. Because his is the only polaron beam where the polarity can be inverted.
Yeah. Okay. So that's literally what they do. They tell him to get his tail moving towards command, and he does
and he says,
"I'm too old for this shit." Yes.
I am too old for this shit.
When they had to come in for the dialogue replacement afterwards, they asked him, maybe we can tone it down, and I'm too old for this ship.
Oh.
Which they didn't wind up leaving in, but I think it's a better joke. I'm too old for this ship. Is a better joke.
Yes,
but he makes it through a fantastic, it's sort of a streak effect through the camera.
Lots of Dutch angles.
Running past Dargo to touch one of the control panels. Fortunately, the control panels are still in real time.
Yeah.
You can just touch those and then they do whatever. And then this most glorious shot of Moya
starbursting.
It looks nothing like regular starburst, where you have this sort of portal traveling over the skin and then her traveling through it. But
it kind of looks the same, except for the portal.
Yeah. And she's being reconstituted and dissolved and reconstituted from the rear to a few meters back. It's really, really amazing.
And everything's back to normal.
Is that it?
Weirdly, it's even more normal than we would have thought because everybody's young. This is just a few hours before they actually went into the portal.
Nobody remembers anything. They're examining the nebula. Rigel says that, it might be a good place to hide from peacekeepers.
I'm not sure we should go in there.
Don't worry, Chiana. I'll fly a long-range recon in a transport pod to make sure it's safe.
Chiana is the one who's like, I've got a bad feeling about this.
That one was really interesting. Because she's not the only one who has a bad feeling about it.
Well, Zahn startles from her meditation that she's still in at this point and comes running towards command.
Bumps into Stark, whom she's not surprised to see.
And who also knows about what's been going on.
Yep. Conveniently, their comms fail, just to add some manufactured peril.
Because everybody's pretty much agreed at this point to head forward into the nebula. And just as they come storming into command and tell pilot to abort and stop and don't do it.
Why? Just trust us.
We've got a bad feeling about this, yes. I mean, they do explain that it's some sort of, timey-wimey spacey shit.
And everybody just rolls their eyes. Except for Chiana, who goes, ha, ha, ha.
I told you. I had a bad feeling.
We sense there's danger in there.
I told him we shouldn't go in there. I felt something too, Zan.
Now, that was interesting, because the first time around, clearly Zahn and Stark weren't a part of this decision-making. Probably.
No.
Zahn was in her... was
meditating or some yachts like that.
Shut up, Rigel.
And Stark was, I guess, just lurking.
Zahn, he doesn't get a vote. He's not a regular crew member, I suppose.
But Chiana, at one point she mentions, hey, I never wanted to go into this nebula to begin with. So during the first time cycle, she already had a bad feeling about it. So maybe she... For Zahn and Stark, it's clearly a residual memory of the last time cycle that they experienced that makes them cautious.
But they're the only ones because they were joining in the unity and the timey thing. So they kind of remember what happened outside. Not entirely, but...
Is Chiana sensing that as well?
Maybe.
It seems less likely since she was already against traveling into the mist the last time. So maybe it's just a coincidence?
Yeah. Could be, or just a bit like her being smug and like someone agreeing with her being like, told you so. It's the kind of things like when you go, called it. So I noticed that this episode has a very long post-amble for a sci-fi show. It's usually after the conflict is resolved, then it usually wraps up very quickly. But there's quite a bit of episode left at this point.
Yeah. It's called the 39th Minute. There's a lot of genre shows, certainly around this time, say around that this aired, late to. That was also when shows like Angel were just starting, where their sort of structure shifted to resolving the plot by the 39th minute, and then spending quite a lot of time setting up other arcs.
Yeah.
Because now Stark reveals why he was actually on board.
Yes.
It's a complete surprise. There was apparently a scene was filmed that actually showed his arrival and justified his departure.
Which ended up getting cut. Yeah.
It ended up getting cut, just like the scene of his departure at the end of The Hidden Memory was cut as well. But he has arrived with news of very great importance to Dargo.
It's time to tell Dargo why I came aboard.
They walk up to him, hand him this little message scroll tube, which he unfolds, and it has a picture of someone in that he doesn't recognize.
Who is this?
The manifest lists him as Jossie, son of Cardargo.
There is a slave auction.
Yes.
And Jothi, son of Cardargo, is listed there.
It's going to be sold to the mines of Kessel. No, wait, wrong sci-fi series.
I found it in a manifest of slaves being sold to the Ketten mines.
It does start with a K, though.
Yeah.
Dargo is immediately enraged by the fact that he wasn't told about this sooner.
My son is being sold into slavery.
Dargo!
How long have you known? Why didn't you tell me?
I just found out.
Dargo! Stark wanted me awake before he told you!
There's that Luxian hyperage. We haven't seen that in a while.
And, of course, Stark says, well, I kind of wanted, Zahn to be around when I told you, for obvious reasons.
Yes, for this exact reason. Which Zahn does. She does pace and lead, which is a very good technique that I've never mastered when someone is highly emotional and aggressive. To calm them down, this pace and lead technique is first meet them at that emotional level and yell back and then take steps down, which she's doing.
It works better if you're both reading from the same script.
Okay, fair enough. And she says, well, we have time and we will get your son back.
Yes, so I'm thinking okay, so the uncharted territories are suddenly a lot less uncharted.
Hey, the uncharted territories is a condescending
term.
And
I mean, Stark obviously knows the way because he found them, so presumably he knows the way back. Unless there's going to be more starbursting and then you completely lose navigational support at all.
Yeah, or whatever the plot requires at any given moment.
So that's going to be upcoming, I suppose, in some of the... Oh, you're going to make me want to...
Who knows? Maybe they'll just completely drop it. I don't know. Do you want to put some money on it?
I knew that was going to come.
Yeah, some of your Farscape fun bucks because you've been accruing those. Oh. Hey, by the way, I have recently awarded you some additional Farscape fun bucks.
Oh, have I? For what?
So you made a prediction back in Beware of Dog that Scorpius seems to have his claws in Crichton.
Oh.
Which was then... indeed resolved in the next episode. Won't be fooled again. So I've retroactively given you, it's only 20 points.
Yes, because short time resolve. So.
Short time resolve, and you didn't put any points down, so I gave you the basic 10.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So you are currently sitting on 690 minus 230. That is 460 Farscape fun bucks.
Okay, so I shall put down 50 Farscape fun bucks.
Yeah.
On the crew going to make a rescue attempt for Dargo's son, Jothi. However,
yes,
I'm going to have to put a time limit on this because this is kind of obvious. So I'm not going to say it's going to be next episode because they might just go it'd be a little bit too obvious to do that straight away. So I'm going to say within 2 episodes.
Okay. I will accept that. Yeah. If you just said, they're going to go after Dargo's son, it is really being telegraphed.
No, obviously.
I would have accepted if you'd made the bold prediction. It's just never going to come up again. They're just going to abandon that plot line.
Of course not.
No one would have been bold enough to accept that.
That would be a stupid bet. That would be a sucker bet.
All right, so you got 50 points on...
within 2 episodes.
Within 2 episodes. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, no, I know, because I'm there's always been production schedules and things might get thrown around. So I'll say within 2 episodes. Okay, so far, I'm a little bit disappointed at the lack of Crace and Talon haven't shown up yet.
Yeah.
So... I think that's actually an outstanding bet that I have still standing. That
yes, that's one of the ones that
Grace and Talon are going to come back as
with a new crew / organization. You have 30 points riding on that since the start of the season, and we're on episode 16 already.
Yeah, we're deep into the season. There's another 5 episodes, I reckon.
Yeah,
and I mean, it must happen before the end of the season. I mean, we've only seen Grace in flashbacks and in the
briefly
weird
on the Holosian screen. Yeah,
and in last episode, which was all taking part in John's mind anyway. So. Yeah.
He looks good in heels.
I'll just keep that bet riding.
All right.
So, final scene between John and Aeryn, where they are both kind of like return to normal.
Do you get a feeling?
About what?
I don't know. I just have this feeling something happened.
Between us.
And they feel that something happened between them,
but
and they can't Aeryn doesn't immediately dismiss it.
No.
While they're both in the maintenance bay working on whatever. Crichton puts something down like the size of several toasters, at which I have no idea what he's working on. Maybe some components of her prowler that they're still trying to get fixed. Yeah, exactly.
But they work on opening the Locket,
which they found in the transport pod.
Yes.
Which is apparently a little bit weird, because at this point that locket would have been given to Aeryn, but instead it's found in the transport pod.
It had been given to her before, yes.
And also she's working on opening it.
Yeah.
Under one of those great new lamps.
Oh,
This is what it's all about. It's the lamps, babe.
It's the lamps, yes. It's all about the lamps. They managed to get it open, and it just contains some dust.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, because that's why I'm wondering about, did she put that... Was that a painting of John that they put in, or was it a photo that the DRDs took? But she clearly doesn't remember that either.
If something happened, I'm sure we would have remembered.
Which is she would have done that before she left.
Yes.
So that's this kind of had me wondering, okay, so...
All right, so at this point she hadn't printed out a photo and put it in yet.
So she must have either done that at the very last moment before leaving, or it was something that she did on the planet.
But then how would she have an image of John unless there was a photo in the database of the transport pod?
Yeah. And I was wondering if the whole dust inside the pendant was a metaphor for something disintegrating. Is that a metaphor for their relationship? I
mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? So this was written by Justin Monjo and directed by Ian Watson, who has copied Andrew Prowse's habit of putting lots of foreground junk in between these shots. I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something timey-wimey about the Locket because it's gone through so many times that it comes out and then it's another billion years older than the rest and only the metal has survived somehow.
Okay.
I have no idea what to make of it. But they inspect this dust, they both touch it and just drop it. And they look at each other, and that's the episode.
Yeah. Oof.
She gives me a Woody.
She gives you the willies.
Okay, Willies and Woodies. You've been teasing me this whole time. I've been on tender hooks.
Okay, so my Woody definitely goes to the scene with old Aeryn and old John walking down the hill in the forest. I thought that was an amazingly beautiful scene.
Yeah. God. Not since the dinner scene in Through the Looking Glass. Hey, the last time that Moya did a reverse starburst.
Wrong direction.
It wasn't a starburst.
Oh, no, she wasn't going to go in reverse. I got it wrong then. I still get it wrong now.
They were trying to back out of the tri-split episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then she had to go forward instead. I mean, it's never really quite clear on that. But not since that dinner has there been just such happiness.
On that, especially between those two. And my Willie goes to the fact that I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of parallel between this and the previous one, Won't Be Fooled Again.
Yeah.
Won't Get Fooled Again. Because there also, he doesn't remember the episode. This is 2 episodes that we have seen, and nobody else has. Well, Zahn and Stark have.
Yes, but Zahn and Stark don't know what happened on the planet, so they don't know any of that.
Yeah.
Although they might remember a little bit of the way John was reacting after Aeryn had died.
Oh, fair point, yeah.
So, but still, again, their memories seem to be tenacious at best, mainly the fact that something was on, and I don't think they remember many of the details. But who knows? Yeah.
I'm with you. My Woody is for that scene as well. Of all the scenes that they have, and they are fantastic. Claudia Black does an amazing performance. She's regal. She's like a lioness, but she's so wise and stately. And Ben Browder as well. He is He is a folksy sexist who sort of jokes about when she asks him, like, oh, how's your knee? She goes, oh, well, you know how it is, just running up and down the hills, chasing beautiful women. That is the kind of thing that folksy old racist uncles can get away with, and you sort of put up with it. But
yes, I suppose you do. Damn, right.
Yeah. But my Willy...
Yes, do tell.
My Willy actually goes to all the technobabble, or the Farscape version of technobabble, which you totally didn't need. This whole episode could have worked without the sort of manufactured peril that everyone's under, because there's a time crunch and this is all like consolidating. There could have been a different way out, because we've seen these episodes before, right? Timey-wimey things, where a what-if scenario, and then there's a reset button. And the main thing that we're wondering is not so much exactly how it's going to come together, but whether it will be respectful to us as viewers, genre connoisseurs, to the characters, which this certainly is. But it's also, like, there's way too much urgency that I never need.
No, I see what you mean. I mean, they kind of have to have some sort of mechanism to resolve the fact that like, they're now, like, Aeryn is now 200 years older and John is 50 years older.
Like, if you want to do one episode, like, absolutely, that's totally fine. But it didn't need to be a race against the clock or you know.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But that's, I guess, they feel that they kind of have to do that to make it like rather like, oh, we're just going to take our time to figure it out, because, like, you know, we need to get to the end of the episode. So,
and even the figuring it out and all the science, I never felt like I needed that. I thought this episode could just be on that planet, and maybe they find a magical route.
But I think that if they hadn't done that, then it would have just been kind of weak as well, because there'd have to be some sort of there's some sort of we studied it for like 24 solar cycles and we found a solution. You know, that's not
we escaped somehow.
Yes, that's not a satisfying way to resolve it either. So
okay,
I guess it's the lesser of two evils to have this manufactured peril and do it like that.
Then I take it back, and my Willy goes to Stark. Oh, I'm just back.
Yeah.
No reason.
Okay.
I'm back.
I mean, here's a reason. He's got that information for Dargo.
Yeah, but
just tell it. They don't tell you about that at the beginning of the episode.
Cutting the scenes of him leaving and arriving is such a disservice to this character
Fair
who
enough.
just whatever.
Okay.
Let's just get on with it.
And that's the story so Farscape. Join us next time for episode 217, and The Ugly Truth.
Hey, by the way, our listeners, we need more of these synopses, because this is the first one in a while where we had no synopses, and I had to spend time coming up with a synopsis.
When a negasonic teenage warship turns trigger happy, it's time for Space Rashomon to find out what's Rashomon.
It's a Japanese film.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Oh,
I guess this tells me a little bit about the return of Tallinn.
Does it?
Well, a negasonic teenage warship. That sounds like.
I mean, it seems like a perfectly innocuous title synopsis to me. Like, it doesn't give anything away. It doesn't name any characters. Perfect. You can find us at SoFarscape on Facebook and Twitter. We have handy links. If you want to submit your own synopsis, please do for one of the upcoming episodes. It can be any episode from any season. Go to sofarscape.com/submit. And if you want to chip in and help keep the lights on, as so many of our wonderful listeners have done. And we have a new subscriber to our Patreon.
Thank you, Kathy, for joining us and for supporting us. We appreciate it so much. And also, of course, a big thank you to all of our existing Patreons. We have heard from several people who really enjoy our readings of these fanfics, which have been out for like 20 years at this point.
Yes, exactly. Sort of time-locked. Like, they have to have been posted before the latest episode aired that we're talking. We only want fan fiction that was written before the episode that we've explained this before, haven't we?
Thank you again.
You can join our Patreon at sofarscape.com/support. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.